Don't mind me if I check my fantasy scores religiously because I'm in the playoffs in both of my leagues.
Should we expect anything different from the one time Frank
deigns us with his presence?
Yeah.
All hail our robot lord. Thank you for your time.
I thought you were gonna. Never mind.
Welcome to another installment of Frank in the Butt Fucks.
Butt fuck.
Demonetized.
Demonetized.
Hey.
There's nothing wrong with butt fuck.
Listen, consenting adults can do as they please.
So we're
Like
gonna,
walk away during the end. Oh, no.
oh my god.
You're being a sweet boy. I apologize.
That would have been a killer move on your part.
Just walked off.
Fuck this.
Shows up an hour late and then leaves within 5 minutes.
It's that I would do that.
Yeah. That's why we believed you for a second there.
All right, let's get a mic identifier going. Welcome to another installment of Two Guns, No Ammunition. I'm really Two Guns. We are No Ammunition. We're going to go around the circle here. Say one fact about us that you can associate with our different sultry voices. Well, I'm Billy Two Guns, and I'm one of those cool guys who doesn't wear sleeves even in the winter. Aren't you impressed?
I'm erect.
Yep.
That's the same as impressed, right?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. I'm Genevieve, and I'm feeling pretty cozy right now.
You have like double sleeves.
I do. I actually do. I have another shirt on underneath this, and this is long sleeves. And then
Just picture this in your mind's eye, ladies and gentlemen.
it's just a very well-clothed person.
About as cozy as you picture yourself being.
Totally clothed.
That's where Genevieve's at.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm Frank, and my programming has been updated to contemplate the meaning of non-existence.
Interesting.
I'm Jake, and can I have some of that programming, baby? Come on, let me take a hit of that code. Pass to the left, motherfucker.
I pass to the right because I'm left-handed.
Well, that's against the rules. Here, thanks, man.
I'm getting a babbling, like, creek water sound.
Oh, that's good code. All right. Okay, you can start now.
Oh, okay. So since we're a video game podcast, I'm going to get started talking about fucking books. How about that,
Ha-ha.
nerds?
Suck it.
So since I'm getting old and I've been staying up too late and playing the video games, I'm trying to get back on a good sleep schedule. And one of those things has been reading a book. One of the things to help me get to sleep. I kind of left that out. And I started reading books before bed with like, I used to read them on my phone, and that would keep me up all night, especially when it was Reddit. And according to Reddit, the whole world's
It's in a book.
Reddit says the whole world's gonna explode and America's the worst. And
It's
stuff
that
like
paperback Reddit.
Yeah.
Ah.
I would print it out and then I would light it with the light from my phone behind the paper.
Oh,
Can I
okay.
also point out how funny it is that America is the worst and going to destroy the world, and except for in the boxed off area that is the Hong Kong discussion, where America is the best and China is the worst.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like only there in that in that little boxed off space is that discussion just that point not true, and then everywhere else they're like the opposite.
So I used to read on my phone, and then that would keep me up. Then I did the blue light filter, and that helped me fall asleep. But still, the internet was too close. So I started reading books, and we've talked about this. I talked about some good ones online. But what I recently read was a book called Ivanhoe, and it was by Sir Walter Scott, right?
I've read
I
it.
think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some sir something.
I quite liked it. I got to tell you, it was tough at first because they're speaking in ye old English. And it was like...
It's not that old, right?
It was, forsooth, maiden, thy tongue outpace thy discretion.
Yep.
And while that is a super dope way to say shut up,
Bitch.
like you're out of line, I took a little getting used to, but by the end of the book I got there. And I got to tell you, it definitely feels different than a modern story because way less happened. Right? It was like, this was over.
It was
like,
not trying to impress you that hard.
no, it was like, this is what happened over the course of a week, right? Like we followed some serfs, and then they went to this guy's house who's a Saxon, and then he had a son he didn't like very much. And then we went to a tournament, and Robin Hood was there. and then the son showed up and won, but he got stabbed, and then a Knight Templar kidnapped a sexy Jewish lady to make her his wife, and then Robin Hood attacked the castle, and Ivanhoe happened to be there, and then they left, and then King Richard appeared, and then they're like, we got to take back England. So like some things happened, but it was over the course of 3 days. When you consider like you read like a Harry Potter book and it's like 5 years.
It's like, yeah.
Well, a whole year in one book.
Yeah,
there's zip-zooping all over the place.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I mean, it's an entire semester of school plus like either an afterword or forward or both about summer.
Yeah.
And I think the last book is longer than that in terms of chronology because he like drops out of school.
Yeah,
Harry Potter's
it's actually over.
Harry Potter is a high school dropout, by the way. Yeah. And very successful nonetheless.
Yes.
Believe in your dreams, kids.
And he, yeah. So in this book, it's like there's a lot of
Guys, Hermione is a dropout.
It's true.
Tune in, drop out.
A life advice.
Yeah.
So he, they all talk, and I wonder if at this point in time, when people are reading the book, they're like, "Wow, this is bullshit," because everybody's really wordy. But when they talk, it's not like, "Hey, dude, fuck you, I'm the king of England." It's this whole to do. So I wonder, is this how it was back in the day? Anyway, it was fun, and I finally got to the end of it, and the crux of this story is I was up at camp for hunting season, and I had forgotten my sleep book. I had left Ivanhoe on my bed down here in Delaware, and I had to look it up, and I said, boy, that book's 1 billion years old. Well, it's older than Mickey Mouse, so it's probably in the public domain. Have you guys ever heard of Project Gutenberg?
Yep.
No. Oh, wait, yes.
So I think it's a project by Google to add as much shit in the public domain, like works of writing, as they can, and just make it available to everyone.
This is a good idea.
Yes,
Amaze idea. And guess what's on there? Ivanhoe. And guess what you can read offline, no problem?
Ivanhoe.
So
Ivanhoe.
I finished the book. I read a big portion of it while I was at camp off of Ivanhoe, and internet in the middle of rural PA can be less than stellar. So it was nice that I could read it offline. It was the same thing as I had in my book. And then I was browsing through it when I came home, and I was like, shit, what do I read now? There are so many goddamn classic books on there. And it's like one of those things, you ever go to a diner and there's too many things on the menu, and you're like, what the fuck do I get?
An omelet.
Every diner.
An omelet.
Yeah.
Every diner.
So that's pretty much how it is on there. So Gutenberg
Lobster.
has all this different stuff, and I picked, like a real creative boy, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Has anybody read that?
No, actually.
I never.
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, I have not read. However, his shit is all over Star Trek and all over pop culture. And how many was it? At least 2 different movie franchises in the last decade.
Oh, yeah.
So
I read I think it was like a short story about Sherlock Holmes.
I think they're all, isn't it a series of short stories?
Yeah, no, there's a whole bunch of mysteries with Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. So it actually might have been 2. And I got to say, I remember one I read in high school, the other I read in college, and I was a fan of both.
So I started reading it, and it's Watson telling the story. And Sherlock is like this, I am very smart guy. And they're like, how do I know you've been wet recently, Watson? And he's like, I don't know, but you're right. And he's like, ha ha.
Because he's Bendy Snatch Cumberpatch.
You have 5 scrape marks along the leather of your boot, meaning you were stepping in mud, as London is wont to have. I'm like, what? And then Watson's like, gee whiz, Sherlock. You are so fucking smart. I always am
It's just
dumbfounded.
Watson being really dumb.
he's like, Holmes, it seems impossible until you explain your thinking.
I really want that to be the actual explanation, though. It's just like
Watson, you're a fucking idiot.
missing some chromosomes or like something's not right.
Oh my god.
I mean, it's all. I think everyone knows his trick, right? He's extremely attentive to the most minute details and connects those dots, and that's
Really
all
quick.
the genius, quote unquote, really is.
Yeah.
And then, but most people, and I think I've seen this in real life, like most people aren't catching a lot of these details.
He in the opening pages, he goes, "How many steps lead up to my apartment, Watson?" And Watson's like, "Enough steps."
Don't count.
Oh. Yeah. He's like, "I've counted. It's 17." Okay.
That information could be useful maybe a little bit at one time in your life.
Yeah.
Someday.
Glad you know it though.
And what else did he say? He's like, "I know you've got a
What an idiot
shitty
for not
house
knowing.
servant, Watson." And he's like, "How do you know that?" And he explained it in like old timey logic. I have no idea.
Back when like the middle class had house servants.
Like, oh, because of this, that, and you look frustrated, and your wife's tired, and what? Like, what? And Watson's like, "You're right. I just fired her. Just fired the servant."
That's the
I'd
only
like
way I
to
want
point
to
out
hear
I've been watching Downton Abbey for the past couple of weeks.
Okay.
And
British Game of Thrones.
yes. Well, not quite.
Game of Brits. Yeah.
That's what me and my friend decided to call it. Well,
It
she
is-
called it that by accident. I was like,
It
but
is
it's
not.
already British. But anyway, so
So,
You're fired. Go on, Frank. Go.
everyone had like the amount of shit that people go through to deal with their servants, which are their employees. I'm like, people talk about how hard the old days used to be, quote unquote. And I'm like, if I ever got that nice of a treatment from my employer, like, I don't think I would ever leave that job in my entire life.
How do they treat them?
Like people.
Like pre-industrial revolution. Like,
they-
oh, you're a human.
They
Yeah.
give you a place to live and food and some spending money?
Yeah, yeah. Well, beyond that, it's like the one woman, she's starting to like have trouble seeing. She needs eye surgery, and I mean this is like 1918, 1920, whatever. So like the treatments are available, but they have to go to London, and that's like fairly far away. And this is like before health insurance or even like the National Health Service in the UK, right? So she's been a cook in their kitchen for a long time, and I mean like that's all she's ever been as a cook, and before that like a cooking assistant, and she's like probably in her late 40s, and they're like, "Oh well, you know, we'd hate to see you like lose your eyesight and not be able to work, so we're gonna give you a couple of weeks off, go down to London, we'll pay for you to get your eye surgery, and when you're back, like you'll be good to go." And they like hook her up with like the best eye doctor in London and
Dr.
all
Watson?
this shit. Sure, maybe. So I'm like, could you imagine if like you didn't have to fight tooth and nail with your employer to like fix what's wrong with you?
Or your insurer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you,
I'm just imagining Retardo Watson operating on someone's eyeballs.
Definitely demonetized.
Well, it's squishy.
You're fixed now. Did you switch her eyeballs? Yes.
Brilliant.
Just got,
That's
like, pug
both
vision.
impressive and useless. I award you no points.
May God have mercy on your soul. Okay. I've been thinking about this. I think we were talking about having servants back in the day. They were like, they all must have been fucking, right? There's like 50 people in the whole country, and you're a rich guy or gal, and you've got these sexy, sexy servants who aren't fat because there's not enough food. You all stink, so that's not a big deal. Everyone's plowing, right? I mean, Christ, even Arnold Schwarzenegger banged his maid or house something or whatever she was.
I'm gonna
You can say
say
Materator.
Materator.
occasionally, but
No, that was the threesome.
not all that often, only because of religion being such a big fucking deal back then.
But TV told me that
Closed
everybody's
doors.
plowing.
I mean, I'm sure there was more of it than ever got noticed or reported.
Yeah.
Because that's human nature.
But yeah, I would say like the people that lived in like if there were like servants in like a very rural area that wasn't like a main castle or anything like that, it probably happened more. But like any of the major castles or anything like that, my guess, and I could be completely wrong with this, is that since they have access to like legitimate religious services and like actual religious scholars, like they would probably be more devout than your average countryside person.
There might even be religious staff like in residence.
Exactly.
Oh,
yes.
so-
And they're
Yes.
plowing.
Every
It's an
castle,
abbey, right?
Well, that
Nuns
Downton used to be an
plowing,
abbey. Yes,
priests
in that case. But I'm talking
The
about
nuns and
like,
priests, maybe not as much.
Holy janitors. Plowing.
definitely priests. Like
Plowers
every
plowing in the fields.
every castle that I've ever been to.
Pigs plow.
Frank's desperately trying to make a point, and we're over here just plowing.
Let's plow.
Yay, baby, trying to plow.
I'm trying to plow my field over here.
I do declare
I'm
that
like,
day of
fancy writing.
celebration of the king.
sorry, tangent. My roommate listens to a lot of like modern, like
Plowing?
current gangster rap and like pop, R&B, like that sort of thing. And I'm just trying to. I couldn't possibly deliver it correctly, but I'm picturing or hearing in my head one such song with all of the sex references replaced with plowing. And I need it to happen. I need it in real life.
The king declares that today all his subjects listening thou shalt plow. Saint
Did he say we're going to plow?
Plow's day. How
Hey.
now, plow cow?
Hey, Jimbo, let's go plow.
These leeks aren't going to plow themselves.
Hey.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, that was enough of that.
So yeah, well, my point was every medieval castle that I visited, which is several actually, probably like over 10,
Wow.
had a
brag.
chapel.
That's at least 9 more than me.
Bill finds something endlessly entertaining.
No one else caught it.
Genevieve goes, you said you've visited several castles, and she goes, humble brag.
Nothing about that. But I'm glad it made you laugh.
I mean, I don't think it was a humble brag. I think it was just a rag.
Right. That's what. Yeah, that's
I wouldn't even call it a brag. I would say like,
Shut up,
bad.
Frank.
It's only a,
Shut your face.
it's only a brag if you are jealous.
Privilege. No, I've actually probably been to more castles than Frank.
I
so-
Listen.
live in a castle. So.
Let's be real, though. Fuck castles. They're scary.
You mean plow castles?
Plow them all to death.
No,
Okay, that's another
listen.
reference.
I've been in one castle. It was Castle Blarney or whatever. And the walls come up to my mid-thigh because everybody back then was a dwarf.
That's not true.
And I was afraid to fall off the edge. And guess what? After I left that country, a couple months later, somebody
once told me
you the world is gonna roll me.
Somebody fell off the side of the castle and then died. Okay?
all three of us right to the smash mouth.
Really?
We smashed Bill's mouth.
We plowed Bill's mouth.
We plowed it.
Plow mouth.
Plow mouth. That sounds like a terrible Pokemon.
Listen,
Plow
now-
mouth. Plow mouth.
Body once plowed me.
Plow mouth.
and this
And they don't stop coming and they don't stop.
Oh my goodness.
so anyhow, the
Didn't
walls
make sense not to plow for fun.
and all the steps are worn out, so you might just topple over. I'm not big in these castles. Frank, I don't know why you're spending so much time in them. I'm
But
just
the
saying.
head gets soft
Well, it's creepy.
when you're done.
It's creepy. That's why Frank's in there.
Okay, that makes sense. He's like, I'd like a dungeon like this.
Seems about right.
On a less sexual note, castles are cool. Oh yeah, totally unrelated.
My point is they're
That
not.
is a very
no, they are
sexual
cool.
note.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
And
I agree with Jake.
they are spooky. That's beside the point.
Sometimes they're just towers. They're one tower, and they're like, this is a castle.
Dude, I got a
Yeah.
video
Or
I
like a
could show.
fort?
If you got 42 minutes, I watched a video yesterday, like codifying castles.
Class hole.
It was a classle on casts. I mean, a class on castles.
Okay.
But it was awesome. And he like designed he did another thing where he designed Winterfell, like 3D rendered it based on the books descriptions instead of the shows, which are dog shit.
Yeah.
And then like, he goes, no. I was like, okay,
How did it look?
I got 40. Amazing. Okay. I was like, I got 40. Shadiversary. Jesus Christ, I can't speak today. Shadiversity. He's an Australian bloke who loves medieval stuff and like practices sword fighting and whatnot as a hobby.
Sounds like a nerd.
He's the biggest dude. He's a huge nerd, and so am I. And I will absorb his nerddom. You should check it out. Anyway, you probably had an actual point about these 10 castles you visited.
Yeah, they all had chapels, and like they would
religion.
be staffed, and some of them currently still are staffed by priests. And many of them actually did employ monks, and I think that was more of a continental Europe thing that helped with like the farming and whatnot. And like they wouldn't be like an actual abbey or anything like that, but it would be like the priest and the Catholic Church has like, a division here that helps run the castle with the local lord or whatever.
Well, that's like the abbey we saw in Ireland, right? They had a whole garden.
Yeah, and they made beer. What was it? They were like, there's a big hole, but it's not a well in the back, and we don't know what it's for. And then we're all like, I think they used it to make beer. And then there's a sign.
Oh, that was the monastery, but yeah.
Then there's a sign that like they stored fish in here because they didn't have refrigerators. But you know what? I'm gonna warn you. Hey, not to besmirch the Irish. If you go over there and you're a tourist, they're gonna lie to you a lot. So be very suspicious of everything they tell you.
Mischievous leprechauns.
Well, they're not going to lie to you like, to steal your stuff or anything. But everything they tell you about old-timey lore that sounds cute or whatever, it's probably bullshit.
Also, don't touch their dogs. They apparently hate that.
Oh, my God. We already talked about that.
I think so.
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't remember.
So they went to some island. There's some island in the Atlantic. We slept through it. And these old Irish Atlantic Islanders live there, and they had dogs, and the Americans were like, "Oh, look, a dog," and they were like nice to it, and these guys are like, "You fucking American, yeah, I was coming over and fucking talking to our dogs," and like it
was like, you Americans are ruining our dogs.
You're ruining our dogs. They were really upset that people were interacting with these dogs.
Wow. Culture clash.
Yeah. And that was not an Irish accent I did, but it sounded foreign.
You what?
You what? That's more Paz's accent. My roommate's English.
At least you were not trying to talk Irish like
England.
this.
Oh my God.
Would that work very well.
My roommate's English, and when he gets home, I like to yell.
They're all Irish to the British.
When I ran downstairs, me and his dogs yesterday ran down the stairs as he got home from work. And I was like, you won! He was pretty stoked. I mean, how could you not appreciate that? Like, can you imagine if we were in like England or something and we had like you had dogs over there and your roommate comes running downstairs, he's like, hamburgers! Like whenever you walk downstairs.
That's the equivalent of you what?
Yeah.
Welcome
I would have went with like
stand.
outtakes.
Outtakes.
Oh my God.
Oh, I would love that.
Authentic American reading.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Okay. Have we ever talked about how like the rest of the world thinks when they think of America, they either think of like some Cali bro or like a rootin' tootin' cowboy? If you go to Japan, there's like American restaurants and it's cowboys and
First of all, there is nothing wrong with that, and they are welcome to think of me as a rootin' tootin' gun shooting cowboy as much as they want, and I will not be offended.
I'm okay with this as well.
I love it.
It's just those commie Californians.
Who was I talking to? I was talking to Paz and he's the English one, because they have like they had that guy over there who taught his dog how to do a Nazi salute.
What the fuck was his name? He almost went to jail over that bullshit.
I thought he did go to jail.
He might have. I don't think it was for very long though.
And Paz has a very different position on it. He's like, of course it's illegal. We had a war with the. I'm not going to get into it. And wait, lost my train of thought.
I say it's not a cool thing, but
No.
And it was
Legality
just to
of
prank his
conversion.
girlfriend, and it was just a little pug like lifting one of its front paws.
we were talking
up for a
about
treat.
cowboys.
Oh
And
yeah, we were talking
Californians.
about like
How
different
things
racial
is.
stuff, and you know how like the Spanish team got in trouble for the soccer team. They like pulled their eyes and made them thinner on the cover of a magazine when they were playing in China or something.
No, did they?
Yeah, and the whole world was
kind of hilarious.
The whole world was like,
no one's gonna dare make us in trouble for this. It's so ridiculous.
I keep telling, I'm like, dude, you realize that like the rest of the world is way more racist than America and England and the rest of the like.
We're just
it's
woke
just
about
normal
it.
there. And I was like, I was like, it's a shame that all this stuff has racial connotation because, you know, it's actually pretty funny. Like, if an Asian person walked around and held their eyes wider to imitate you, how would you feel? And he's like, yeah, that'd be pretty fucking hilarious.
And you're like, wow, you're really grasping at straws there, bud.
Me?
No. I mean, that person.
Oh, no, like, and I only say that to lead to the point where, like, if we went to a different country, like in Japan, and they were dressed up as cowboys with like assless chaps, like they had the general idea of what they thought a cowboy was, but it wasn't quite right.
Where the thought process went, and then where it went wrong.
There's a thing in like some parts of the world I only know because of Red Letter Media watching a Turkish movie that was trying to be an American action movie.
Oh my God.
And failing, by the way.
Oh my.
A bunch of the very much Caucasian like bad guy thugs had their t-shirts and like button-up shirts tied into a knot on the front with a little bit of midriff showing.
Yeah.
Which is just a thing.
I've never been more threatened in my life.
That was done in like the 70s over there. And might still be, I don't fucking know.
Oh my God.
But yeah,
That's
like
amazing.
so it's all these like, you know, ginger dudes with like handlebar mustaches with like front knotted
Britney Spears
button-up shirts with like only 3 of the buttons actually fastened.
I don't know. Maybe Britney Spears' backup dancers all got together and went
Maybe Britney Spears is Turkish.
Maybe.
But my ultimate point was
Jane Guger, please confirm.
Was if I went over there and they're like, welcome to America's restaurant, and they're all walking around holding their eyes wide open with cowboy hats on, I would fucking die.
I at the risk of being canceled by the internet, I desperately want to attempt a Chinese man attempting a Southern American accent.
Oh my goodness.
But I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, well,
that might be too. Yeah,
I could die.
My favorite is Genevieve's dad
explode.
is a actual Southern fella, and he's fluent in German, so he speaks German with a Southern accent.
Awesome.
Well, it's
I've met
definitely a toned down version.
I'm pretty sure I've met like Korean immigrants who then learn English in the South, who have a Southern twang.
Yeah.
And it's like it fucks with your head because you never hear it. And you're like,
what are
I mean,
you?
I understand what you're saying, so that's good. Like that's the most I can ask for if you're going to learn the language. Like, you know, you would expect the same from me.
Yeah.
But
oh my
fuck my
God!
head.
Wait a minute. So there was this. I was talking about Project Gutenberg, which is ultimately what I wanted to touch on. I really like that Google's doing this as like sort of a fun aside. So there's tons and tons and tons of really good content out there that you can simply download in like EPUB books or EPUB format, HTML format, like all the different formats you could want for an e-reader. And it's just free because it's public domain. Go check it out. I had a hard time picking a book because there were so many options, and it's like, oh, if it's so old and it's free, like why even bother reading it? Some stupid part of my consumer brain. But
it has no value.
It added reading these old-timey books was really kind of enlightening because, you know, I'll give an example about how throughout time the Jews have been looked down upon by society. In Ivanhoe, it's totally normal. Everybody's aware of it, including the Jews, and they talk about it at length. So every time they talk to like Isaac of York, who's a Jewish guy, they're like, as thou should know of thine's foul tribe of unbelievers, you money miser. Like, there's the whole country of England is super mad at the Jews for loaning them money and then wanting it back. And they're like, you Jews better not go to this town because someone will kill you.
And the Jews in the book are just like, this is how every day is.
Yeah, they're like, well, I'm going to move back to Panama or somewhere else, Granada, because even though they don't like the Jews there, the king likes me. It's just, it was very strange.
All the Jews said that?
But there was one thing I had to take a fucking picture of to send to Genevieve. They thought that one...
That was from your book?
That was from the book.
I thought that was something on the internet you found.
No. There was they were trying this Jewish girl for being like a witch or a devil worker because one, she's Jewish, and two, a Knight Templar fell for her. And they're like, we're going to burn you on a faggot if you did some magical stuff, and they already laid it out. And she claimed trial by battle. And the author goes on about how people were making clearly ridiculous claims about her magical abilities, how she turned into a bird and flew around the castle and then landed. And they're like, but everybody's like, wouldn't believe it except she's a Jew. So, and then there were so many people getting so hysterical in their things. They're like, even if she wasn't Jewish, if she was just ugly, they'd still believe that she was a witch. But she was, anyhow. Here's it. They were talking about how there were like these slaves that this one guy had, these two black slaves, and they were like building up the fire or the wood to burn this woman on the stake. And this is the they were like, these black people made it seem even more like this Jewish lady was a witch. And I'm going to read the little part here. They looked not on the multitude. In fact, they seemed insensible of their presence and of everything save the discharge of their own horrible duty. Speaking of the black people getting the burning ready. And when in speech with each other, they expanded their blubber lips and showed their white fangs as if they grinned at the thoughts of the expected tragedy. The startled commons could scarcely help believing that they were actually the familiar spirits with whom the witch had communed, and who, her time being out, stood ready to assist in her dreadful punishment. They whispered to each other and communicated all the feats which Satan had performed during that busy and unhappy period, not failing, of course, to give the devil rather more than his due. Have you not heard, Father Dennis, quoth one boor to another advanced in years, that the devil has carried away bodily the great Saxon thane, Athelstane of Königsberg? Aye, but he brought him back, though, by the blessing of God in St. Dunstan. Now listen.
Yeesh. Was that all one sentence?
No, it was a paragraph. There was a paragraph. But like, I took a picture of that and I circled blubber lips because like the thing that's really interesting about this, and part of the reason I think it's not super cool to censor unpalatable historic writing. Like, I know people like this.
People edited. I know they edited Huck Finn.
Yeah,
because the N-word.
And the thing is, like, I guess the point I was getting to was part of, like, I had an awareness throughout history. There had been friction with the Jews, and then there was the Holocaust, right? But I didn't really have any idea of like the general tone. And one thing that Ivanhoe's author does really well is describe the mentality of these people who buy into fantastical testimony from these knights of a holy order that a foreign lady, an unbeliever, this beautiful Rebecca, could turn into a bird and fly around. And that was the only way that she could truly corrupt a true believer so valiant. And the thing is, he wanted her for her sweet bod. He kidnapped her. He organized this whole thing to kidnap her, to force her to be his wife. And he's like, listen, I'll keep you from dying if you just say you'll be my lover forever. And she's like, no, dog. And he's like, all right, then I guess.
Oh my God, it's Esmeralda and Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame.
And yeah, maybe. And then like, even this thing, they were talking about Saracens, and I don't know what those are or who they are.
Biblical references.
And they're talking about the Crusades and how they're like, I slaughtered 400 unbelievers in Palestine, and everybody's really happy about it. And even they get to this point where like they use such strange language to describe somebody's lips, and they talk about how people are so not understanding of someone who looks different and speaks differently that they think they must be embodiments of
The devil.
and his like, if you can get past the part where like, yeah, this is bad and you shouldn't look at other people this way. If you get past all the modern sensibilities and outrage, it's very interesting to see someone who, I mean, he frowns on their practices as well. The author does, but he talks about it in
that parlance.
Yeah, and not in an outraged way. He relates it, and then he makes notes like, these people are clearly ridiculous, but this is what they thought. And it offers me, it's like, oh, this shed a little bit more light on how the rest of the world got to where it was later on, and how like fucked up existing in medieval times was for like everyone. Right? They talk.
People are nuts.
They were
superstitious.
And they're talking about how
ignorant.
like they have bandits just living in the woods.
Yeah.
And they're like, they'll get you and they'll be like, are you a Saxon or a Norman? Because if you're a Saxon, we'll let you live. Otherwise, we're going to fucking kill you. And then they're like, let's arm wrestle to prove I'm a Saxon. And, no, the one guy, he's like, let's fight with sticks. And he bonks the other dude. And they're like, haha, good Saxon you are. A true Englishman. Get out of here. But don't tell anybody we're here or we will fucking kill you and your family. Like, it's so bananas. And everybody's like, oh, this is normal. So I wanted to relate that because if you have, it's like that thing when I think back to the history and when things are happening. It was like Napoleon was stomping around his attempt at taking over continental Europe at like the same time something was happening in America. It was like, it wasn't the
War of 1812.
Yeah, the War of 18, like these things were going on at the same time, right? And then it was like after that, then our Civil War happened, and it's so, you learn about these things in silos, but it really meshes to give a much more full picture.
And a lot of times those situations will correlate.
Right, right. So it's been, my point is, I started to read Sherlock Holmes because I'm like, what other fucked up points of view did these old timey folks have? And let me see if that gives me a bigger depth to understanding. So I become really excited about reading this stuff. And it's like Project Gutenberg, I think it's driven by Google, which now, I mean, if you look at YouTube, is becoming very curated and demonetizing things. And it's not, not necessarily censorship, but I don't know how this project just slipped right under. They're like, we're just throwing historical shit in there. We're just doing it. And I think Looney Tunes does something with their old cartoons. They're like, this is our unedited cartoon from the Second World War. To edit it is akin to pretending it didn't exist, and we can't do that because these are fucked.
Those who forget their history are doomed to repeat it.
Right. And it's sort of like that. Like it's a, I don't know if morbid curiosity, but it's really fleshing out what the dynamics were like.
You should start like a book group of just old-timey racist shit.
I think what I'm driving at is that anything that I read that is truly old-timey will have also racist stuff in it.
Sure. I mean, it was clearly integral to the it was a societal norm. It was how these groups of people interacted with each other.
Yeah. It's really bizarre. And I will say this, being exposed to it does not make it any more appealing to me. Okay? I'm not going to start calling people blubber lips. I'm not going to think that people can turn into fucking birds. All right? This is simply expanding my understanding of how fucked the past used to be.
But it's in an old book, so it must be true.
No.
And it's on the internet now, so it must be true.
I feel like people really worry that exposure to this stuff will corrupt people. And like, I'm not like, hey, this is a good idea. I'm like, ooh, this is.
Did you guys know the Jews are witches?
And he talks like he's in the 1920s now.
From 1702.
And they said they got them hooked noses because they use them for magic.
Amaze.
I think they're really onto something.
Yeah, we're actually not, being Jewish myself, we're actually not recording this podcast with electronics. It's devil magic.
Oh, fuck. I knew
The
it.
Do it.
Jews believe in the devil. That's what the Bible says about them.
Yeah.
It's in there if you look.
They don't believe in the hell, but there's definitely a devil.
Yeah, totally.
And they're
They're
like-
definitely not the chosen, like God's chosen people.
Yeah, they're
No,
all
no.
about it.
No.
They're like, the devil's cool.
It's like a sarcastic saying, you know, like the, God's people.
you know what was interesting? Like, they're talking in this book about how every doctor's Jewish. Like they're all Jewish because they all like learn, and then their dads are Jewish doctors, and they make them doctors. And then I found out apparently that's still a stereotype.
Yeah.
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 You ever? Yeah.
They're either Jewish or Asian.
Yeah. I mean, the Asian thing
That's the
came around
stereotype
later.
now. It came
but-
around later, but
yeah.
that's also a thing.
Talk about a streak. you know?
Lawyers, doctors,
all the entertainment.
entertainment producers are all stereotypically Jewish,
Yeah.
and the demographics support the stereotype. There's a lot of them. It's not exclusively,
Right.
but I mean, if you go watch any what's that movie about NWA that came out, Straight Outta Compton, a couple years ago. It was basically a true story about that group of rappers, and like their producers were Jewish, top to bottom, like start to finish,
It's pretty wild.
and they pulled some shitty shit.
100%.
but
Jewish.
like I can understand. Like
Jewelers too.
Jewelers.
Yes.
I thought it
well,
was
it's in
like,
the name, so I mean.
I thought it was like
Maybe that's where it comes from. Does anyone have the etymology of that word? That would be super
A
fucked.
jeweler.
Yeah, wouldn't that be
jeweler.
super fucked?
No, I think the word jewel evolved separately.
Yeah,
from Jew.
that would be
I'm
super fucked.
evolved
Researching.
from jury, as DJ Khaled says.
Yes, the
Jury.
esteemed historian.
We the best music.
But like, and this is how dopey I might be, but it's just there's so many things to know, so much information to comprehend in your life that, like, you know, you learn about World War II and how a whole country turned against all these ethnic groups, but especially the Jews, because they're like, why would they do that? And they're like, well, they were fucking doctors and shit. They were doing well, and everybody else felt left out, and whatever else the explanation.
Ignoring obviously the millions of poor Jews who were caught in these ghettos.
Oh yeah.
And then ensnared and whatever. The rest is history. But
And what I mean to say is, like, I was like, for some reason in my mind, I was like, oh, this stereotype was founded off of trends that started in like 1880s. Like in my head,
it was founded off of antiquity.
I just didn't realize that. Like, I read a book talking about from like the 1500s or whatever, 1400s.
Yeah,
And
go
even-
back another 3,000 years, and it's still true.
Yeah.
Did they even have doctors 3,000 years ago?
Sure.
Some kind of.
They didn't know shit, but they tried.
All the leeches and bleeding people. That
like,
kind of stuff.
And I guess what I'm saying is that may be
Essential
true,
oils.
and I might know that factually, especially now that we've talked about it. But reading a whole story where that's like a part of the world that everybody's just like, yeah, okay, it offers this perspective that I just didn't have before.
I'm super not an expert on anything we've been discussing. If that is not already apparent, I'm saying it now. But I have watched a shitload of stuff on the YouTubes by experts about the developments, the births and discrepancies among religions. Okay. And coming from memory here, the Jewish faith was just, it was the norm for such a long time in the Middle East. Christianity came around and was, just kind of a hodgepodge tribal sort of thing until the Roman Empire adopted it very near its demise. And in order to codify a national religion, historically, typically the other competitor religions get, attacked to some extent or another. And part of that was establishing this lore around Jews for not having recognized Jesus as the promised Messiah in the Jewish prophecies. So the core difference between Jews and Christians, if you're not already aware, is the belief that Christ is the Messiah.
Right.
The Jews are still expecting somebody. The Christians believe that he came and left and will come back. And the Muslims think Christ was a prophet, but Muhammad was the real guy, right? Is the super bare bones basic. Now, tie to this the fact that both Christianity and Islam forbade in the early days the charging of interest on loans. No such stipulation among Jews.
That okay, so that offers some perspective as to why all these guys were so pissed.
If you needed to borrow money, the only people for whom it made sense to operate such a business were Jews.
Yeah.
So when they came to collect, and if you didn't have your money to pay up, well, I mean, these are old times. People get pissed and possibly violent. I don't know. I'm sure it varied situation. I'm sure there was probably legal recourse that was taken also in circumstances like that. But there was probably much less than there is today to stop someone from, getting their kneecaps broken, so to speak. So of course this is going to then create an animosity, because there is one group of people operating what they see and maybe was and still is today a predatory sort of business, right? But it's not the Jews' fault that they didn't agree with this. The lending money was seen by them at the time as a economic necessity, and arguably it was and is, right? So that alone, and the discrepancy about the Messiah, arguably, and this is definitely getting into territory I'm not sure about, but it is my assertion, and I believe others, that those two core discrepancies have coagulated to be a multi-millennial persecution of this demographic, while simultaneously enabling the Jewish demographic to work hard and attempt to be successful to a greater extent. And you see that stereotype mimicked now with Asian American immigrants who, I mean, you ask anyone who's ever heard this stereotype about how, Asian parents come in, they either have or bring a kid with them who's young, and they, everyone's met people like this. They drill them, like, you're going to learn an instrument. You're going to study medicine. You're going to, you don't get to have friends. You don't get to date. You're focusing on becoming successful. And then once you have that, you can do whatever you want. Right. And that, I think that's a very similar sort of mentality in enough households to have made that difference, if that makes sense.
I think that's well put. And some of you might be screaming at the radio and be like, duh, Bill, of course you should have known this. Everybody's been fucking telling you.
A lot of people don't know shit. So,
but it was like, there's a difference between like being told that something was the way it was and seeing it being actively employed, like in this book, Ivanhoe, which, by the way, aside from its weird sensibilities that pop up every once in a while, it's an engrossing story. A little hard to get through with the old-timey English, but I really enjoyed it. It was a book that was been given me years ago as a gift. I finally finished it. I'm happy with that. But I guess ultimately what I wanted to get to was that there are, they say, over 60,000 titles on Project Gutenberg. Some of the really classic titles. I mean, War and Peace is on there. A Tale of Two Cities, Sherlock Holmes, all that stuff. It's all on there. If it's older than 72 years is in the public domain, it's probably on Project Gutenberg. And I'm giving it a try because I want to see how all these different, first off, the stories are interesting. They seem to be less flowery than what I'm used to, because it's, this is when they started telling these kinds of stories in book form. Like I said, not a shitload happened in Ivanhoe, but it was all really engaging in its own way.
That's like all of the Dostoevsky works, like the Brothers Karamazov and Anna Karenina and all that stuff is like, or Tolstoy, really, and Dostoevsky, like, not much happens. Like the outline of the story really is kind of boring. It's normally about like a family or like everyday shit that happens. It's just that the writing is incredible and the characters are all super realistic.
Yeah. And that's part of the thing. It's like, how could I guess there's something about how human these people are with these things that I believe to be flawed, so flawed, such old time, but it humanizes sort of the past. And it's like, how did we get here? It makes more sense. I don't know. I just found it to be very enlightening, I suppose. Very, interesting. So
I think it's the hardest part of writing to do is to properly humanize people and create characters in
Who
such
don't
a
all
way.
sound like the author.
Well, and beyond that, but like create a character where you can say things like, "Oh, I knew that's how they would react," or you are surprised at the way they react, and then show them changing throughout the story in response to what happens in the story. And I think that's what gravitate like. So I shouldn't say most, but a lot of the really great works throughout history have generally focused around war. And it's because I think it brings out like the most extreme in people. And it shows like it requires the most reaction, and it gives authors like the ability to make people react in extreme ways.
I'll tell you, reading Ivanhoe has offered also some interesting perspective on Crusader Kings 4.
Of course.
Because I've been trying to play France and win, and I'm currently number 2 behind the Ottomans in like my 4th playthrough. Not Iron Man, so I save scum every once in a while because I'm still trying to learn. But do I crush the Reformation and stay Catholic, or do I embrace it, or do I even go Protestant? And then reading like a book like this where everybody's, there are unbelievers and heathens and heretics, and they talk about it. It adds an interesting depth to what I've always just heard about, like dungeons and horrible leech doctors and stuff. I recommend just go on and peruse and find yourself something. And if you're staying up too late like a fucking dork like me and every other gamer I know, turn on your blue light filter and read a free book, and then you'll fall asleep. Because ye old and I me team, that kind of language will just go right out.
Put you right under.
Yeah. So Frank, who do you usually play in EU for? Before we kick you to break, I need to know.
I don't play it all that much, I mostly play Civ, but I really like France.
See, I'm on my 4th playthrough as France, and
You said Crusader Kings earlier. Did you mean Europa Universalis?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. EU, Europa Universalis 4, not Crusader Kings. I talked about last week how I keep getting whooped, and I hear your fucking voice in my head like, "Oh, you just gotta do this." Oh my god!
We might have roasted you a bit on the last episode.
Yeah, just a bit.
For being a supercomputer. Which, I like every other.
Yeah.
So like when you're here, similar to that.
But it's, I like playing as France, and I'm not going to take over the whole world. But I finally got Castile to become part. We married into each other, and then I had them become part of France. So that was a big deal. It only took 200 years to make them part of it. Do you win? Do you ever win that game?
I don't think I've ever actually finished a game.
Really?
Yeah.
What do? You just like fight for a while and then?
Yeah, just see how far I can get. Normally, it gets to the point where I'm dominating so much that I'm like, I know I could win. The same thing happens in Civ a lot too, where like I'll get to the point where it's like, yeah, this is just a matter of time of waiting to meet the victory condition. I'm done. Move on to the next one.
Right now, I have England on the ropes, and I like finally launched a war, and I went way over my limit for diplomatic relationships. I was allied with 7 different countries. I fucking stuck it to Great Britain now. I stuck it to the Austrians, those fuckers. And they all were like, white peace, which is just nothing happens. But they're abandoning Great Britain in this war. So I was like, yeah, fine, whatever you want, just get out of here. And then I had chosen to humiliate them. But as part of that, they won't let me take their provinces.
Because you humiliate?
Yeah, you're like, what's your casus belli? What's your cause of war and humiliation? And you just take money from them and make them look dumb. So I took over the whole country, and I didn't get to keep any of it.
Oh, wow.
Now I'm mega pissed.
Do it again.
I'm going to try. But everybody's like, I don't want to go to war again. It's just
too bad. I upgraded to bombers.
Yeah, now you have all the money, so that you should use that to fund a war, and you can fight all of them.
They're funding their own destruction.
Yes.
I'm only getting like 100 gold a turn with my maintenance all the way down. With my maintenance all the way up, I'm getting like 10. And I only have 186,000 guys, so eventually they all die, and then I can't have a war anymore. I don't know if there's an obvious solution to that.
Mandatory babies.
Mandatory babies.
Make all the babies.
Yeah.
raise
I
them
would
to
I would draw
soldiers.
down the army now and then redraw it back up so that you can like. Yeah, that's what I would do.
That's what. Yeah.
So unlike Civ, your guys, your boys.
They're not immortal.
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
But
That scout from like that I made in 3500 BC is not helping me out.
Right.
3,000 years later.
oh man. But all right. Well, that was fun, and that was related to video games because in video games you read, and this is about reading and the Googles.
I don't know how to read.
And Google Stadia is coming out
Explains
with
a lot.
video games. And there you go. Check out Project Gutenberg and then learn how fucked up the past was by
good for you.
proxy. You know, you can read about Ivanhoe plowing around with
Plowing around.
plowing around with the unbelievers.
Well,
All right.
we went from indiscriminate casual sex to the Bible
Yeah.
and back
Wow.
in less than an hour.
I mean,
Video
what I got
games.
from that is that student loans are the Jews' fault. So
Correct. And a Jew's trying to fix it. If you like Mr. Sanders.
It's true. Oh yeah.
Hey.
Comes full circle.
Hey.
All right, catch us on the flip side. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
Welcome back.
I've been taking voice lessons, can't you tell?
It's beautiful.
Yep, been communing with Mama Cass over, and we've been relating over eating sandwiches.
Everybody loves a good
is
sandwich.
Adele there?
Adele, she's still alive.
Oh, okay. So no.
So, okay, just to throw out a little conspiracy theory for you. Mama Cass was big fat. Jesus Christ, that was a little rough. She was the heavier girl in the Mamas and the Papas, and she died while eating laying down. That's what they say. She like ate a. She also, I think she was the one who like was in a relationship with her father when she was 10. Anyway,
So you could say she's been through some heavy stuff.
yes, I'm convinced that she was murdered. I think that a lot of those women from back in the day who they just like died. People were just slipping them barbiturates and then they died. And that's what I think.
Why?
Well, like Marilyn Monroe, didn't she overdose or something?
I don't remember actually.
Maybe.
She died. And I'm like, oh no, I'm pretty sure they murdered her. I'm pretty sure some doctor was like, calm down, you hysterical woman, and then poisoned dead. And they did investigate. So looking back in time at those. Okay, moving on.
Does anyone know if it's true? Someone told me this like years ago and I never really believed it, but I always wanted to believe that it was a thing because of how like it's just one of those things that's terrible but so absurd that you're like, I kind of hope that it's true just for the absurdity of it. That it was the vibrator was invented to like make doctors easier because men would send their wife to the doctor because they were like
Give her an
whatever.
orgasm. Give her her headache.
Essentially, yes. And like there was like a condition of like they needed to basically just get finger banged to orgasm to like clear their heads.
Yeah.
And like the vibrator was invented to make that easier for doctors. And I'm like, please, dear Lord.
Let that be real.
Yeah.
I
That
don't
would
know, man.
I choose to believe it's true.
no one knows. Did anyone else ever hear that?
Oh, I've heard that
I've heard it,
100
yeah.
times.
I've
I
never
watched,
heard that before, and I believe it wholly.
Well, in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, 2 pages in, they start talking about how
Vibrators?
Does he
No.
finger bang someone?
no, they start talking about how Holmes does a fuckload of cocaine.
Yeah.
Oh.
He loved it.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, He doesn't have any jobs right now, so he does coke until he passes out into drug-addled dreams, and then he wakes up and he does more coke. Okay.
0 out of 10. None. I would have preferred finger banging. Terrible story.
All right. Well,
You know what? When you're on coke, there's probably a lot of finger banging something.
Unless you're him. Then you're just too busy finger banging coke into your nose.
I had somebody tell me that if you're all up on coke, you have a hard time getting your Jimmy.
I've heard that as well.
Mm.
Similar to whiskey dick.
Yeah.
Not a problem I'm familiar with.
Whoa, big time performer over here.
Or small time drinker.
Fax your
one of the two.
applications in.
Okay. All right. So, Frank, you have content. You've been gone for a month. You came with content.
We assumed
lay
you
it
were
on
dead.
us. Yeah, lay it
A
on
scrap
us.
heap somewhere.
Yep. So I talked a little bit before about City Skylines when it was on Xbox Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was also on a free weekend at some point recently on Steam. Well, I bought the console version along with most of the DLC. It was like $120.
Wow.
A little absurd. There's a lot of DLC. That's one of the it's an indie game. It's not a AAA title. It's
No
by
shit.
Paradox Studios. Yep.
Oh,
Paradox.
Paradox.
We've become increasingly familiar with them.
Yeah.
Aren't they the ones who made EU4?
I think so, yes.
Just pee something.
There's a couple P's out there.
So the base game itself was satisfying, but I thought the base, like the vanilla game, was, I just want to say, I don't know, a little underwhelming in terms of like content and whatnot.
I can I've played maybe 25 hours.
Yeah.
And I can sort of get that feel.
Like it's really fun. And you play like 20 hours or so and you're like, okay, well, I got it, and it was fun for those 20 hours, but not something you're really itching to dig your teeth back into. When you add in the extra options that they give you with the mass transit DLC, so they give you a ton where they give you monorails, trams, like a bunch of other, like really cool shit. There's the Park Life DLC, which lets you make like, instead of like, they have like pre-designed like mini placeable parks in the base game. The Park Life DLC gives you like, it lets you design actual parks yourself, and you can like make footpaths. It's like Autism Central.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Where like
Is it like a miniature of Roller Coaster Tycoon?
yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Nice.
And then there's also one called Industries, which really focuses in on like creating a supply chain of manufacturing in your city. So each area that you can purchase and each different starting location, like starting map that you have, has different natural resources available to it. And you can take those resources and create industries around getting them out of the ground. So the focuses are on agriculture, timber or forestry, minerals like mining basically, and oil. And the way it works is you designate a certain industry area that has that resource nearby as that type of industry area, and then you can like buy and like build specific industry buildings. So for oil, which is the first one that I tried, there's like a main building that unlocks the rest of the stuff, and then you put in like different wells, and other businesses will pop up in the zoned area for it. And you'll extract oil out, and then you can like build other buildings that do things with the oil. So you can make like a plastics factory and a toy factory and all these like petrochemical plants, right? As it processes more oil in that industry, it unlocks higher level buildings, and you get a ton of tax revenue for it. But then you also have to ship different. You have to ship it all somewhere, right? It all has to go somewhere, and you have to make sure that there's like adequate ways to export the goods. Otherwise, all the businesses will start leaving because they won't have anywhere to sell it. So it adds like a different layer. And once you combine that, there were some other DLCs in there that were smaller that just add some extra assets and whatnot. And Green Cities as well was another one. That gives you more power plant options from a like environmentally friendly standpoint, and it just adds other things like that are designed to make a city that is more environmentally friendly. One thing that I've noticed with all the DLC is that traffic is the main issue with planning a city always ends up being traffic, which is similar to how like SimCity was and the game was before, but it evolves in a way that makes you plan out your city in a much more controlled fashion, as opposed to like with just the base game. When I'd play it, I'd like expand it to like, I don't know, like 50, 60,000 people, and I would have like zero issues and be raking in money, and I'd be like, wow, well, here it is. Like there's a little bit of a traffic snarl here, but if I just upgrade the road type, like that's it. This game, like I have had issues with traffic, and it's not that it gets like terrible. I have seen people on YouTube design cities that have like, so they give you a grade on your like a percentage grade on your traffic, anywhere from 0 to 100% in flow, right? And like they rate good as essentially anything over 60 or 65%. I normally keep mine between 70 and 80, but it's normally like it'll only even be that low because of specific hotspots that I just can't really seem to figure out. But I've seen people on the internet with traffic flow in like the teens, like 15%, and you'll just see a line of cars like across the entire map on the highway. And I think the Industries DLC was really the driver of that, because it vastly upticked the amount of cargo traffic that you have. And like trucks are like the biggest driver of traffic because they're slow, right? And like that's really what creates the traffic. So it makes it a little bit more realistic too. So I don't know. I'm really liking that game.
Have you ever seen the playthrough where it's like the guy did it, there's no taxes, it's all toll
The
roads?
Spiffing Brit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is that who it was?
He did like 86 toll booths. and set the taxes as low as it would possibly go, which is not 0, but it was like 0.1 or something stupid like that. And yeah, he made some other mistakes that were hilarious, in that he was funneling all the sewage into a hole in the ground. And then when he couldn't dig that any deeper and it was overflowing, he built like a volcano next to it and started funneling it into that. And of course, this was right next to one of his major highways. And at the end of the video, he just spawns a meteor strike on the sewage pit.
Vaporize it.
It flows. No, it vaporized the pit, but sent the sewage everywhere else.
Amazing.
It's like wiped out a bunch of roads. But I forget the exact count of toll booths, but it was it was obscene. Like you had to pay like 6 tolls to get from the residential area to like the commercial area for everyone's jobs. And there was like 10 tolls between them and the hospital. Like, and the ambulance has to pay it too. So he said all the tolls all the way up as high as they'd go. And he was like, I have endless money. God. And people just keep moving in because there's no taxes. But there's all this traffic.
Doesn't matter. Everyone's happy. They don't have
anywhere.
taxes. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So that's a DLC I forgot, was the natural disasters, which was definitely a thing they were missing in the earlier version. Because SimCity, like obviously that was one of the most fun things to do, was make a really nice city and then destroy it with giant robots and aliens. One thing that I like you have the option of turning randomly occurring natural disasters on or off. The base, so the first city that I built, I was extremely proud of the design of the city. It looked really cool, and it had like a whole bunch of really nice features. Like there's one part that I had where like I put the university up on this nice hill, and it just looked so cool with like a big university up there. And I put an observatory up there, which is one of the unique buildings you can unlock. So like it was just this really nice. It had this like really like high income residential area, like that was a little on the small side around it, with a bunch of forest in between that and the rest of the city. There were like a lot of really cool features with the city, but the base rate that they have set for natural disasters is absurdly high. It's like every 5 to 10 minutes you get another natural disaster, and like some of them are mostly harmless. Like it'll be a sinkhole, and the sinkhole will occur not even in your city. It'll just be like this blank area of like trees up in the corner of the map. Boom. I had that university area get destroyed by a meteor. Just boom. Gone. Then I got hit by 2 tsunamis in the span of 20 minutes. And the one was like, it was not that big of a deal. It flooded like 5 buildings, and I was like, oh, no, that's not bad. And it was like they gave me a warning of like 3.2, right? I was like, oh, that's not that bad. And then it's like, oh no, now there's an earthquake attached to the tsunami. Like, okay, it was like a 4. And then so like a couple buildings got destroyed and a couple of roads got destroyed. And I was like, all right, a little annoying that I have to like reconnect these roads, and they had like trams on them, so I had to redo the tram lines. And that was annoying more than anything, but not that big of a deal. And then so that first tsunami did like no damage at like a 3.2. Then I get another tsunami warning like 10 minutes later. It's like, uh-oh, we've got a tsunami of like 7.5. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is not going to be good. Almost my entire city flooded. Then like the earthquakes associated with it started to flow through, and like it ruined my city.
Yeah.
So I started a new one with the disaster settings down substantially.
It's a bit extreme.
Yeah, and I've only because like I played that city was like 5 hours worth of gameplay.
Yeah.
And I think I had it to like 40 or 50,000 people, and I'd been hit by like 3 forest fires, a couple sinkholes, 2 tsunamis, and a meteor.
Frank's mad.
Like, what?
And a giant death robot.
Frank's jimmies are rustled.
Yeah, I was a little rustled.
I mean, I'd be rustled at that. That's horse shit.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anywhere on Earth.
Your city is getting absolutely finger fucked.
God does not want this to exist.
Yeah.
Did you name it Gamora?
Gameplay.
So that was a thing. And yeah, I mean, the one nice thing in addition to like gameplay element wise, that natural disasters added that I was pretty happy with is response and planning for the disasters. So you can look like in those games like SimCity and City Skylines, they're replete with information, right? You can get graphs and like heat maps of every data type that is important to the operation of your city. Natural disasters added an escape route, right? Feature, like, so you can view like, okay, in the event of an emergency that we need to evacuate people, do they have somewhere to go? Like, can they escape, right? And then, yeah, it's like, you're fucking stuck here. Drown in this tsunami, you piece of shit.
Suffer and die.
The city has life insurance policies on every citizen.
That would be brilliant. Then I could just rebuild everything after the tsunami wipes it out. So they added, in addition to that information, you can build like disaster response centers and evacuation centers. So that like if you need, like if there's going to be a giant meteor, you can just put everybody down into the emergency shelters, right? And as long as you have sufficient escape routes, people will get there in enough time. Buildings might get destroyed, but the people are still alive, so they'll just get back up and they'll rebuild it. And you don't even really have to do anything at that point; just repair any roads that got built or got destroyed. So, unlike SimCity, which was like always fun to just throw those on your city after you built it, save, put in a bunch of alien attacks, watch what happens, and then reload. This gives you like a more realistic thing of, hey, disaster could strike at any moment. You got to tune the frequency, as I mentioned, but not only that, but there's things you can do to prepare for them and mitigate the damages that they bring. So it's all in all, once you get the DLC, and there's still some more DLC out there that I have not bought. Again, there's a ton. Probably in total, you could spend $200 on this game. But what I have so far, like the deluxe edition that I bought or whatever, actually no, I bought the base game plus 2 season passes. And I thought it was all reasonably priced because of the sheer content of the sheer amount of content that I got. and how much that game's gonna keep me going. I can already tell. Now that I'm on my second city, I'm like slowly progressing my way up, and it's just like Lisa always makes fun of me because she'll be like cooking dinner and I'll be like, yeah, I just need to design like this new section over here. And then like 10 minutes later, she'll come down and she'll like, aren't you done? I'm like, okay, yeah, but now I have to make the bus routes for it. And then it's like, okay, well now I have to like redo the intersections because there's a bunch of stoplights and I need stop signs here. And like, it's just like one thing after another after that. And it's always that little extra carrot. It's like the dog with the hot dog dangling in front of it that just is on the treadmill. There's just always that hot dog is just dangling in front of your mouth. And you're like, oh.
Chomp, chomp, baby.
I feel the same way just about Civ. And
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think all those games have that.
Yeah.
If they're worth it, they have that carrot.
Here's the ridiculous thing. I might end up buying Civ on console. I am generally a member of PC Master Race, right? I love the flexibility that the PC brings to video games. But there is just, I'm so used to playing video games from my couch that I always, and that's actually the three games that I have been playing the most recently are all generally PC games that I play on console. So City Skylines is a PC game that I'm playing on console, right? And the port is very good. There are a few things that just cannot be replicated with a controller in terms of building things, especially in road design. Like you just don't have the fine detail, but it is very way closer than I thought you could get.
Why don't you just
get a keyboard and mouse?
Wireless keyboard, mouse, and a lap thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's USB ports on it, so you could take your regular keyboard and mouse. I don't know that it's supported.
What's supported?
I mean,
Keyboard and mouse for City Skylines.
That is far less likely than would be using your controller through your computer or wireless mouse and keyboard and like a thing for your lap while you're sitting on your couch.
Why don't you just run your computer to your TV?
I probably should do that.
I mean,
Stop.
It's not as though you need to have quick response. You're not playing a Twitch shooter,
right?
So,
I mean, dude, I sit on this little couch that you and G are on right now, and I'll play Devil May Cry through the computer with a controller, Fury with a controller.
What's a good way to get the actual image from your machine to a TV? Is Steambox something that would do that?
I think so.
I have not tried it yet, but I've heard stellar reviews of the I can't remember what Windows calls it, but it's essentially as long as you're on the same Wi-Fi network, Windows runs Xbox. You can project your Windows PC to an Xbox, like screen sharing it like it was another monitor.
No shit.
Yeah, game casting, I think they call it.
Yeah, something like that.
And it's supposedly very easy to set up. Like it really is as simple as going into if you were setting up a second monitor in Windows and you go into that area that like the display area, there's like a thing in there that's just like Gamecast, and it's just like if your Xbox is on that Wi-Fi network, it'll just pop up and it's like enter this code into your Xbox when it pops up, and you do it and boom, whatever you have on your PC gets mirrored on your Xbox.
That's mega dope.
Yeah.
That might be your solution, bruh.
It might be. Yeah. But again, like with cities, the port is, and it really should be more of a solution. Like it was one thing previously when my computer, it was like 7 years old, and I like at one point upgraded the video card, and it was like still not even top of the line whenever I bought it because the motherboard that I had was also like I needed a whole overhaul. And it could run Skyrim, right? It could run Civ 6 without issue, just not on max settings or anything like that. But now, since Lisa and I live together, and Lisa's computer is pretty baller, like her computer can run Civ 6 on max settings, and it runs as quick as it can. Yeah, turn times are always absurd. But that was my main motivation for playing a lot of PC games on my Xbox. Was my Xbox? I have the Xbox One X, and I can play them upscaled to 4K on a 65-inch TV, and they'll run at 30 or 60 frames per second, depending on the game. as opposed to on my computer where I could maybe run it at 1080 and maybe get 30 frames a second out of it. So now that I don't have that issue, I probably should be doing that. But again, like with City Skylines and Kerbal, those are games that play very well on the Xbox. In fact, when I play Kerbal on the PC, because I have it for both PC and on Xbox, when I play it on PC, I have a wired Xbox controller that I use to fly, because it is way easier to fly with a joystick on a controller than it is with a mouse and keyboard.
I mean, every like hack and slash fighter I play on PC, it's a controller.
Yeah.
And sometimes even games like Fallout, I just won't feel like using a mouse and keyboard. I want to lay back and whip out the controller instead.
Yeah. Unless it's a Twitch shooter, then I'm probably going to try and play with a controller. There are very few exceptions.
Now, 7 days is mouse and keyboard all the way.
Yeah.
It's too in depth.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like with
that game is available for console.
Yeah.
Is there crossplay?
I don't know. Should
You
be.
want to get on Daddy's server? Daddy Two Guns. If you guys want to play on our zombie Minecraft server, just send us a message on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
We might eventually see it. We'll let you in. We'll let you know what's going on.
the Kerbal port to Xbox, the Kerbal Enhanced Edition. So first of all, that also released the newest DLC finally for the Xbox and PS4 edition. So it's called Breaking Ground, and it originally came out back in June, I want to say, on PC, and it finally released on the console editions on Thursday. And it features the biggest things are robotic parts that you can add, which I have not been able to use a ton, but people have gotten absurdly creative with them. And if you want to see some fun videos, like go onto the internet, onto the YouTubes, and just look for Kerbal robots.
Are we going to see you?
No.
Is it a biopic?
Oh my god!
Yes.
It's unedited footage of Frank just playing it.
This summer, 2020.
Oh my
The
god!
life of an unliving robot.
So
This game matches my circuit clock speed perfectly. I am simulating enjoyment. Frank, are you gonna come eat? Are you gonna come eat some sustenance? Do not interrupt my process. My solution: bus route.
Frank, I didn't know you had a twin.
yeah.
No, that's him in the movie. And then Lisa in like the
that was an audio cut of the trailer.
yeah, and then Lisa in the confession booth, like sometimes I feel like he just doesn't care.
It's like he's an emotionless robot.
Oh my gosh!
She is a tortured planar.
I mean, I knew he was a robot, but come on!
A heartwarming tale.
Yeah.
More
Sometimes
increases.
I lose my humanity subroutines, but I still simulate love for you. A beautiful story of redemption and finding your robotic humanity in all of us.
Your robo humanity.
So
Sorry, Frank, go ahead.
yeah,
Continue.
Kerbal's a lot of fun.
Jesus fucking Christ.
They
Come on, you can
finally
bring it back. Let's go.
They finally added reasons to like land and do shit on the surface of other planets. It's not much.
I will subjugate these natives.
Dude, I wish they had aliens. For subjugation or not, like it would be cool. So previously, like you could build rovers, right? And like you could make them go run around on the surface. But there really wasn't much of a point, because once you were down on the surface, like the only reasons that you had to be there were, one, to say that you went, and two, to take surface samples and bring them back to the planet for science reasons, where you can get more science, especially if you're playing in like the science mode or the career mode, I guess they call it, where you unlock new technology by gaining science by going out and performing experiments in different parts of the solar system. The new update adds surface features that you can use, similar to like the Curiosity rover. It has like a rover scanning arm that you can run around the surface of other planets and find different features that you can then analyze and send the results of the analysis back for science. So it gives you a reason to get down onto the surface and go exploring, instead of just like land, plant flag, take surface sample, get back in and go home. I hope so. Kerbal 2 will come out at some point. They did delay it. It was originally supposed to ship in Q2 of 2020, so like 3 to 6 months from now. Unfortunately, they had to delay that probably at least 6 months. It seems like, maybe longer. But that's fine, as long as like they just released a new expansion in June for the original Kerbal, and they added a free update to the PC version that added a bunch more stuff. So it's the first game is actively being supported, and new content is being developed and pushed out and in some cases for free for the first game. So I'm okay with them waiting on 2, as long as they're going to continue to support and update and develop the first game, even though it's 7 years old or 8 years old. It came out in 2011. And it goes beyond like new content in the game. They're still updating like textures and whatnot, because you got to figure like these planets are huge. Some of them, they just is like, it's a very, very like lack of texture, monotonous backdrop. They retextured 4 planets and moons over the past couple of months, and they look unbelievably better. The only thing that I'm hoping that they add, and this would probably be paid DLC, but I am hoping that they add it sometime before Kerbal 2 comes out, is some sort of like life support and surface, I don't know, habitat feature.
Why are they developing new DLC and Kerbal 2 at the same time?
Well, I don't know that they're developing any more a new DLC, but I hope that they do.
Okay.
And that's because like Kerbal 2 is going to be built on a new engine by new developers, right?
Oh, okay.
The squad made the first Kerbal and they started it in like 2008, I think it was, and they're actually based out of Mexico City. And Star Theory got the contract for Kerbal 2 because Squad sold the rights for Kerbal to Private Division, and Private Division hired Star Theory, which is actually a bunch of like developer, like they're players that became developers pretty much solely to develop Kerbal 2.
That's great.
Yeah. They're all huge fans of the first one, and they're putting a ton of effort. There's a really great like YouTube like mini documentary. It's like 10 or 12 minutes long about like the lead designer and developer of Kerbal 2 talking about how he loved playing the first game, and then like he got the opportunity to develop the second one and was like, absolutely, and how he's meeting with like different people from NASA and SpaceX and Blue Origin and like all these different, like different professors of like astronomy and aerospace design all over the country to try and like really bring the simulation to like the next level. So I'm looking forward to it. I really do hope, like I downloaded a mod for the PC version that adds like habitats and greenhouses and whatnot, like surface things, so you can create like an actual outpost. The recent DLC Breaking Ground brought out like ground-based science experiments that you can bring along with you and then deploy on the surface. But what I really want to see are those like that the greenhouses and habitats that you can all connect together and then have like a little like colony or outpost on a different one. Then like Kerbal 2 is going to be all about like the end goal of your playthrough of the game is going to be colonizing other worlds and other solar systems, right? So
yeah,
you build up your space administration, space program through research and exploration of your own solar system, and eventually you get to the point where you can unlock the technology to reach other solar systems, interstellar travel, and then you can go to other solar systems and colonize worlds there.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Which are all mods for the first one, but
we were looking at Jake started delving his hand into mods. I think we could say, right? You changed in 7 Days to Die. You've modified some of the behavior of some of the weapons and how items stack and stuff.
I mean, yeah, it's ultimately editing text files, but a lot of experimentation. I mean, I could talk about it, but we talk about 7 Days every episode.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say I was excited about it, and
it's surprisingly easy to make those tweaks in a game like that. You just have to be careful.
I really want to look at how I can add different models.
That is what I have not looked into yet.
Because
models being like, what in game are you talking about? Just like different,
like Sarah Underwood, right?
Physical assets, like new textures,
like
new
boobs,
like boobs. Okay,
like your little character in a game is a character model.
Okay.
The simulated couch they're sitting on is a object model of some type.
Okay.
Like I really want to just come up with like a handful of non-player characters that can run around. They build their own little community while you're in world, and then you can have conflicts with them over resources, right? Like I really like the idea of like it's fun for us to build up our thing, but like once we get a handle on the zombies, I'm kind of like I'd like a little bit more drama somewhere. So if we had like NPCs who were actually a threat and would attack like our base with a mind
sabotage.
Yeah, and then like I don't know what it is, but I'd like to come up with something that provides a little bit more drive to have more than one base, right? Like, so if they're like, we have a safe house over here that they haven't detected in case they storm us here, we can flee, get more guns, and come back, that kind of thing. But that's awesome, dude. It's like, Frank, that game sounds like something I would have imagined as a kid. Like, wouldn't it be so cool if someday we could do a space sim and colonize other planets? It's friggin' exciting. Are you going to get yourself like a serious business Starship Enterprise one of these days, you think? PC?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Honestly, I would be more apt to upgrade leases just because there's a lot of good stuff in there already. I feel like all she would need is we spent like $300 on a video card. That thing would be a spaceship. Yeah,
but the issue is that the two of you just can't be on at the same time.
I feel like you can't purport to be PC Master Race and not have your own machine, man.
Yeah, come on.
You're a fraud.
Come on.
I also play at the LAN center.
Fraud.
That's what actually Zach and I were there.
You're not a real
on
nerd.
Friday night. I unfortunately had to cut the night early because I did the milkshake double IPA combo again.
Oh,
so
no!
Didn't you learn from last time?
You would think.
Why are you doing this to yourself, Frank?
I don't know.
My milkshake brings all the
IPAs to the
butts
yard.
to the toilet.
Yeah. I was there for a while on Friday night.
Jesus. Y'all invited me out, but I don't know. Parade night. Parade night spooks me. It's like the third world. It's like World War III.
Dude,
What is
honestly, the LAN center was empty. They were like,
of course it was. They were all at the fucking holiday parade.
Yeah, they were.
So
like,
I guess in
parade.
Westchester there was a holiday parade on Friday.
They do holiday parades throughout the year, and
the
For whatever
Christmas one
holiday
is
there
by far the biggest, though.
It's
on TV.
they at least had the courtesy to do it on a Friday night instead of in the middle of the week, like fucking terrorists. Because it's always at like 7 p.m. where the parade starts, which means everyone's cramming into this little town where there's no parking. Everyone in the fucking tri-state area is trying to get in here during rush hour on a weeknight.
Yeah.
And it takes like at least 3 times longer than usual to get home. And there won't be any parking where you live. So you end up parking super far away and having to walk all the way back to your house in the fucking cold. And I, for the first time in over 3 years of living here, courtesy of Eric, by the way, who had the idea first, of taking off of work.
Yeah.
So I gave myself a little 3-day weekend, didn't have to deal with it. And like he and his girl went to the parade and they're like, Jake, you want to come? And I was like, no, I'll never go again. Please Please don't invite me.
Have you ever been?
And yeah, it's horrifying.
It's a parade.
It's horrifying.
Parades suck, as
Yeah.
far as I could tell.
And they went and they came back and they're like, dude, you missed nothing. We hated it. And like, whatever. I'm sure the parade is well put on and as it is every time. A lot of hard work goes into it. A lot of people practicing. The school bands are in it. And like, well, I'm sure it's a great show. The problem is that once you're there, you cannot move at all.
It's like,
If you need to go to the bathroom, you need to fist fight your way out of the mob.
it honestly might be like a top 20 parade in the country. It's absurd. There are so many people that go to it.
I went to the St. Patrick's Day parade in Dublin, Ireland, and I don't like parades generally. I'm like, eventually they get pretty boring. And I was there and I was drunk, so everything should be fun. And I was like, this still sucks. I don't get it.
I mean, I would gladly watch one on TV in the same way that I would watch, New Year's Eve celebration. I have no interest at all in being anywhere near that mob of people. One thing goes wrong, and you are a sitting fucking duck. You are one of a million sardines in a can. No, thank you. I need to be able to extricate myself from a situation like that way more efficiently than those situations allow.
Dude,
the
I'll
middle
tell you
school
what.
bands, bro.
No, thanks.
Having the shits, like the major, like I think I might shit my pants while walking to my car shits, like that does not, like that is the prime example of like not even life or death situations, but really unfortunate situations of reasons you would not want to go.
Yeah.
That's
And
like
they shut the Rite Aid down, so I couldn't even go get any Pepto. Like Rite Aid was closed, the one at the corner of High and Gay Street. So I was like, all right, it's like 8 o'clock. I think they close at 9 on Fridays. They actually might close at 10, but I'm pretty sure it's 9.
No wonder Rite Aid's not making any fucking money. Why would you close when there's a parade?
Yeah.
All that foot traffic. This is the whole point.
Yeah. So like we were playing video games, right? I was crushing it at Overwatch, and then it started to set in, right? And I was like, all right. I'm going to do this call thing that I have for class, which I did in the LAN center, like on their couch in the like front area. I'm like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to brave the parade area until like up 2 blocks to Rite Aid, because it's next to Barnaby, so it's like 200 feet to Rite Aid. And I'm like, I'm sure I can make it. I get up to Rite Aid, closed. Fuck. Okay, this is really starting to set in. So I start walking, and I'm starting to feel things, and I'm like, uh-oh, I better start moving quickly. So I'm like bumping up against people's shoulders, and like I was not in a good spot. I thought about stopping at Sev to see if they had any. I was like, no, just need to get home. Almost shit my pants about 4 times. Made it home with not a minute to spare.
Wow. Dude, you could have called me up. My ass was sitting here. You could have been like, Jake, I need to borrow the toilet. Okay.
Yeah, but I needed to also like I thought about that, but I also needed to lay down for like 2 hours and drink some Pepto.
I mean, you could still come here and do that.
Yeah.
Do you have Pepto?
You
might have some.
I try to keep it.
Guaranteed you would have got here and he wouldn't have heard the phone ring. That's just how those things always go, right? You're like, oh God, I
Right
need
when I
someone
need you.
to save me right now. Jake's like, I like took a nap.
Oh, I thought I unlocked the door.
That would have been a smarter idea, because then I like eventually after some Pepto and like 3 rounds on the toilet, I was in the spot to like, okay, I got everything out of me. Like I'm good now.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You're a mess, dude.
Shitscapades.
Yeah. I mean, it was awful. I need to like not do that anymore.
Yeah, no shit.
What the fuck?
So
I feel like that's a lesson you would only have to learn once there. Frank.
here's the thing. Like my original plan was not to go out until Zach begged me, right? And then I was like, all right, fine. So like I got the milkshake before Zach asked to go out. And then
That could have been your excuse not to go out, though.
yeah, but then I was like,
Yeah.
that's not an excuse not to go play video games at a LAN center, right?
Right.
And then like we had some beers, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to drink yet. And then I like waited. So like I had that milkshake at 3:30 in the afternoon. I left work early to avoid the parade traffic. So I it was like 7:30 when I decided I was going to have a beer, right? And I was like, all right, it's been 4 hours. I'll try drinking one and I'll see how I feel. So I drank the one and I was fine. And I was like, okay, not an issue. I guess I digested the milkshake. Probably okay. Then I had a second. And then it was like, it was a delayed effect. So like I thought I was playing it smart.
Well, that'll teach you.
That's the nature of science, right?
All right, I think that's a good note to kick it to another break. We'll come back, we'll do a Steam sale quick, and then we'll say adieu to you. Catch you on the flip side. Steam sale. Break sucks. Steam sale. All right, welcome to another one. Jake has pulled up the page. What do we got going on today, buddy, old pal?
We have a Daedalic Entertainment publisher sale, which looks like only things I've never heard of.
Yes, precisely.
A free weekend of something called Miscreated, which
interesting looking.
Very post-apocalyptic-y.
Survival open world.
But I want to start here with Plague Incorporated.
Good
Evolved.
choice.
Fake news.
Fake news.
For $6. Now, I've played the fuck out of the mobile version of this game. I paid full price $7 for it, like years ago, because I was playing it so much. And if you're not familiar with Plague, it also went by Pandemic as a Flash game.
Ah, yeah.
And the whole idea was that you choose some type of ailment and you evolve that ailment as it spreads to have various symptoms and spreading methods, and the objective is to wipe out the human population. But they'll catch on to your bullshit and try to develop a cure in the meantime. Mm-hmm. And the game has exploded in terms of the level of options and to like at least 7 different types of pathogens.
Yeah.
Up to and including like nanoviruses and like micro robots and crazy bullshit, like sci-fi craziness.
Also, fuck Madagascar.
Oh, fuck Madagascar and fuck Iceland.
Yes.
Greenland, rather. Greenland's even harder. But let's see. There are all kinds of like scenario modes. You can play as the Black Plague. You can play as a zombie apocalypse. You can play as H1N1, like you can play as all these different things, like real and fake diseases, or just play the game as is. And there's difficulty levels and this, that, the other, and it's a good time. It's a lot of fun, and you can
mind control was an option.
You can play the mobile version of the game for free with ads, or actually, I forget if it's free with ads or you just don't get everything. But I paid at the time like $7, and honestly, for a cell phone game, I played it enough to total. I definitely got many, many, many times the purchase value over. But it's also a PC game,
and it's $6.
It's on sale for $6. Plague Inc. Evolved. I'm not familiar with what is different about the PC version here. It looks very similar, just a little more polished in the graphics department, perhaps. I'm sure there are other things too. It released on Steam about 3 years ago, February 18th, 2016, so I guess pushing 4. And the reviews average very positive at upwards of 21,000, which is very, very good. But I'm going to tell you right now, without even looking into any of the nuances about the PC version here, that $6 is a worthy investment for this game. Yeah.
Similar to games you've played, Civilization 5.
Yeah, they both occur on a map.
They're kind of like the opposite of each other. You're trying to kill a civilization.
There's like science involved, kind of.
Yeah.
You play against AI.
Can we look at Miscreated?
Miscreated, free weekend. It's also on sale for half off at $10. Multiplayer online hardcore survival game set in post-apocalyptic future. You will need to survive against mutants, players, and Mother Nature herself. It looks like one of 6 million survival shoot 'em ups, but that doesn't mean it's not a good one. There's some crazy looking Zamboids in the screenshots here.
That's a fort. Looks like a fort we can build.
That looks like a fort you can build.
More Zamboids.
Looks like mutants you can shoot at.
Yeah.
I guess this dude's prone or he's extremely short.
Oh, they took a screenshot.
He's like 6 inches tall with the gun 3 times his size.
Yeah. Oh my god.
There's a bear.
Yo, what the fuck?
That bear
So
does
Bill-
not look like it's part of
So
the game.
Bill's in the game.
Yeah.
His cameo. There's a jet ski. On these screenshots
Your
alone,
Chewbacca, apparently.
this game looks pretty sharp. It may be worthy of some more digging. Because it's okay. We got some bloom. Got some HDR lighting.
Oh, it's nice looking.
Got some depth of field.
Oh, there's a lady in it. There's
That's-
2 ladies
She looks
in it.
sassy.
It's a cutscene, so
She looks pissed.
In an airplane stuck out of a building and huge super mutants.
This gang of mutants. Oh,
this is looking pretty sharp, actually.
Yeah. the graphics
All things
look
considered.
amazing.
I mean, it's not the best game. Like, it's not the best look ever, but it's not bad at all. And I mean, it's sharper than 7 Days, cheaper than 7 Days. It's clearly not a Minecraft sort of thing, but
I don't know, $10. I might have to pick this fucking.
Yeah.
it looks
too.
pretty
Well, you get it,
compelling.
and I
I would
have
want to do some more research on it, but
And you get to build your
Yeah, it
fort?
definitely looks like you can build some fortage here.
Yeah, so yet another installment in the post-apocalyptic survival vein of games, but
You
looks
can get a
good so far.
P90. You can get a P90.
Yeah, P90s, Berettas, the gun animations look good, assuming this is gameplay, and it looks like it.
Oh shit.
That's definitely gameplay.
Very, very violent automatic recoil.
There are no sexy nurse zomboids, though. I will say that.
It's a little upsetting, I'll admit. Okay, $10.
I wonder why it's got mixed reviews.
Those are
Very positive recently.
I mean,
maybe they updated something.
mixed is still not the end of the world for
Yeah.
me anymore. But
Deliver
Russ,
us to the moon.
No, it's just deliver us the moon.
Oh.
Demanding.
sci-fi thriller set in an apocalyptic near future where Earth's natural resources are depleted.
What
A
is
lone
that sexy astronaut doing?
I know, that was a nice
just
butt shot.
just floating around.
I want it to be a dude.
A lone astronaut is sent to the moon on a critical mission to save humanity from extinction.
Oh, Sandra Bullock simulator.
So, yeah. It's you play as Sandra Bullock. You're out in space, fucking around.
Frank, you like the space? Is this a game for you?
Is this the games you play?
Who are you, a
No.
space boy?
You know who's really great at space? That's Sandra Bullock.
You should meet her. She's a very nice girl.
Yeah, you might like her. We're your 3 Jewish grandmothers.
When am I gonna get a grandbaby out of you? You're getting old. I'm just saying.
Well, these
almost
trailers are a
30.
little light on gameplay. There is some very like gravity-esque, space debris, like ship shattering level stuff. A little bit of James Bond tech with a laser watch.
If I had to rate my interest in
Rover.
this game, it would be like a 4 out of 10, maybe a 3.
You're interested.
Not really.
Release date October 10th, 2019. $20. Steam thinks it's similar to Fallout 4, which is pretty funny.
Yes. I noticed that too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, these trailers are a little light on gameplay, but I'm getting kind of a little bit of a Dead Space mixed with Halo vibe, except you're by yourself and it's a little more modern as opposed to postmodern.
Yeah. Well,
Looking.
and there was that Spark thing.
Yeah, the thing looks like Spark / Gladys from Portal. Deliver us the moon. I guess you're just trying to like colonize the moon for
Not
your
get finger fucked by space mondos.
Yeah, and that's the worst kind of finger
Or,
fucking.
just your ship thing falling apart on
Lots
top
of
of you.
holograms. Not seeing a whole lot in the NPC department. I don't know. It looks pretty good. I mean, full price is $25, and it's only a couple months old. So,
Very positive feedback. So
yeah, it looks like an indie game that might be worth its weight. So I don't know. Some sort of unknown contenders in the list so far.
Yeah.
Let's see. We'll come back to the developer sale later.
100% off. Minion Masters.
Okay.
Yo, is that a sexy furry bitch? Oh yeah, no, it's an elf girl.
Oh, my. Minion Masters.
I just heard your erection.
Look at her, she's
We all
purple
did.
too.
So we got a top down. Looks kind of.
It looks a lot like League of Legends, actually.
A little.
I mean,
see some league. I can see some like.
The design and the art and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is some lightning fast gameplay. It's literally huge monsters stomping.
Yeah, it's just one side versus the other.
Yeah, it's like a team v team, like arena sort of deal here with looks like heroes you pick from.
But it looks like a glorified mobile game.
Get the new $15 Crystal Conquest DLC. Oh, this is just DLC, isn't it? At 100% off. Just this weekend. Minion Masters now features single-player adventures on top of brand new expansion of cards. Join the free, fast-paced Minion Battler and show us your strategy.
Is this more Chinese propaganda?
Yo,
Yes.
It's made by a beta dwarf.
Whoa, beta!
I'm pretty sure that this is just spyware from the People's Republic.
Yeah, this doesn't really look like it's my speed, but it doesn't look
No.
terrible.
Oh, there's
for what it
your
is.
sexy elf girl.
Hang on. All right, well,
There you go.
Oh,
There you go,
yeah,
just for you.
dog.
Just don't get it on me, man. All right.
Her head is turned so far over her shoulder.
She's an
She's
owl.
so kawaii.
This is as far as I get.
Why?
What?
This is as far as I get.
Yeah. Well, you're not a kawaii Asian bitch.
There she's again.
Just don't remind him.
Yeah, I don't
of
know.
that.
I mean, hey, it's free, but I don't think I would even play
He's
it.
trying
so.
his best.
What else we got? Remnant from the Ashes. $27.99.
Angry, bald, generic guy.
It's holding like
Hell
a
yeah.
fist on the end of a stick, it looks
Also
like.
very positive. Somebody's really liking all these games.
The world has been thrown into chaos by an ancient.
Chinese
More fun.
I'm reading,
Then it has any
boys
right
and
to
girls.
Oh shit, look at this big monster.
be. Oh. Okay. 5 minutes of silence so we can watch the trailer.
Action RPG co-op. This
It does look like the graphics are really nice.
This looks fucking cool. If we could play this together,
It's
hell
like
yeah.
Dark Souls, but
yeah, it's co-op.
with guns.
The world has been thrown into
There are
chaos.
guns in Dark Souls.
You hear me reading over here?
It just sounds like noise.
I tried it earlier and I got the same.
As one of the last remnants of humanity, you must set out alone, alongside or up to 2 other survivors to face down hordes of deadly enemies to try to carve a foothold, rebuild, and retake what was lost.
So another apocalypse.
Okay, so now if it's $27 and all 3 of us can play, I'll buy it. I don't think I want to spend $74 for 3 versions. And
Yeah, that's.
I don't know. It looks pretty cool though.
Yeah, it looks surprisingly sharp.
There's so many Groots.
Yeah, there's a big tree monster, the Whopping Willow or whatever Harry Potter had.
Whomping Willow.
Yeah, very interesting entrant. I'm going to go back through and probably add all these to my wish list just to see what happens with them. What else? Near Automata and Destiny 2.
Which
We'll go
we've
in
definitely
reverse.
talked about.
Near Automata is still $25, $26.79.
$40 full price. Ray Savick gave this game a glowing review. And a lot of people seem to like it, but he really liked it. And it's a JRPG, which I haven't touched since the likes of Xenosaga and Final Fantasy X being the most recent installment I've played. I know Frankie played the most recent, but based on the reviews I've seen and just the ones that are flashing on screen now, the rating scores, this is, and it's already on my wish list. I'm definitely keeping an eye on it, and I intend to play it. It's just still hasn't come down far enough for my liking. But if you like that sort of thing, sci-fi, J action RPG sort of deal, apparently has an incredible story and incredible gameplay. Keep your eye on this ball if you haven't been.
I've gotten some hands on this a little bit. Bridger, friend of the podcast, he had this, and one thing I was struck by is how seamlessly it transitions between 3D over the shoulder or third person over the shoulder to 2D side scroller to.
There's a sexy half boy.
It cycles through multiple different styles of gameplay, ranging from like what you think of about like Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy 15 to like top-down arcade games and old school side scrollers. But yeah, it's apparently seamless between them and makes sense.
I have a question. What does the J stand for in J?
Japanese.
Ah, okay. Thank you.
Yep. It's extremely Japanese.
Not Jew.
It's
A
not
Jew RPG.
Jewish role-playing game.
There's no your health items are not bagels. It does
About
better if you
lox.
put cream cheese and lox on it.
So I
Latkes?
think this game is for sure worth the $26. It's just the fact that it's like 2 years old.
It's just a function of time for me, to put into it. There's other stuff on my radar, other
Gets
stuff
down
in my
in the
library.
teens, it would be.
I'm
an
going to
absolute
buy it
steal.
because there's partial nudity.
Oh, sold.
shit.
Yeah.
Done.
It is a Square Enix game, so there you go.
Female protagonist.
I love protagonists.
That sounds
especially
like
with
a disease.
boobs. Anyway, looks great. Just haven't pulled the trigger yet. Destiny 2. This is a AAA title. If you haven't heard of it, what the hell are you doing? It's one of the quintessential modern looter shooters. And it is on sale at 25% off for $45. If it's your thing, you should probably do it. I've heard excellent things, and I believe there's a bunch of new shit coming out that's going to make it even better. I can't say with first.
Wait, this is the digital deluxe edition. You can get
There you
the
go.
base for $35.
Oh, word. Well, hey, digital deluxe. I'm all about getting all that extra crap they want to throw at you. So
I have heard that Destiny 2 has a lot of the fixes a lot of the problems from Destiny 1.
Mm-hmm.
Price of individual products $34.99. Cost of this package $44.99.
But there's no price listed for the DLC.
That's a little weird. But whatever.
You're doing
We'll gloss
too much
over it. So let's look at this publisher sale because I have no idea what the fuck we're getting into here.
This looks like Minecraft.
Daedalic. Yeah, there's very blocky stuff in the background.
Get unrailed. Oh,
What?
Where does it say that?
And then
literally the top of the
he
screen.
Okay.
unrailed her.
Unreal.
He just unrailed her.
So I'm just going to shotgun a few titles here, and we'll go from there. We got Shadow Tactics.
Ooh, we've been
Blade-
eyeing that for a long time.
Have we?
75%
It
off.
does look familiar, but I can't remember it.
Eratus, Lord of the Dead. We got Bard
With
Trauma,
a
That
mostly
looks-
naked woman on the
Barrow
front.
Trauma,
Super edgy.
Unrailed, Witchit, Cryofall, The Suicide of Rachel Foster,
Yes.
What?
Edna and
That's a
Hardy.
retainer. Why? Oh, sorry.
What?
The suicide title,
So
that's a retainer, not
just
a
like
butterfly.
upside down.
Oh,
Gross.
that is.
I didn't mean to yell at you or yell in general. I just got excited because I figured out what it was. It was
Okay.
confusing me.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I had that.
Yeah, it took me a second too. Let's. I don't know. You said we've been looking at Shadow Tactics, but my memory's a little
Is
hazy.
that Bard Trauma?
I think it is.
Yes.
We'll come
This
back
is
to
like a top-down squad manager, I believe.
But
Shadow Tactics is a hardcore tactical stealth game set in Japan around the Edo period. A new shogun seizes power over Japan and enforces nationwide peace. In his battle against conspiracy and rebellion, he recruits 5 specialists with extraordinary skills for assassination, sabotage, and espionage. Overwhelmingly positive reviews to the tune of about 9,000. Kind of a isometric top-down. A little unclear on exactly how it works, but he's climbing up buildings and stuff. Your character is very far away.
Splinter Japan Cell.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Definitely a game for weeaboos.
stealth game. I mean, I don't know. You know what? Let's talk about that for a second. The term weeaboo to me strikes more of like the modern pop culture, like Japanese iteration. Whenever I see something more historically based like this, I don't
Think weeaboo.
I don't think weeaboo. I don't think it applies the same way. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I could be wrong.
Anything that I see that says Blades of the Shogun immediately makes me think of the people who sit around that study the blade.
You see Blades of the Shogun in a lot of things.
Yes.
Is that one of those
What
common?
you
title
doing over there,
subtitles?
Frank?
You see,
Are you in
is
fact
it like
a weeaboo?
is it like Shadow Tactics Redemption?
Yes.
Shadow Tactics Revolution.
Taxes.
Shadow Taxes the government. Shadow Taxes taxation is theft.
That's right.
Shadow Taxes Sovereign Blade.
Of the Shogun.
Shadow Taxes, Black Helicopter Taxes.
That would be a game Frank likes. It's probably got a lot of math.
Math. A lot of math.
That was a fucking rocket. I don't. All right, I'm buying this game. All right.
It's only $10, but
What
yeah.
the
I do like the style of gameplay.
It's a 75% off in isometric top-down stealth game. Got some
Oh,
shadow running,
shit.
some ninja shit, some samurai shit, some
Taxes shit.
some taxes going on, and how you refuse to pay them.
Without representation.
Yeah, there's is that a harbor they're dumping tea into? Oh, okay, I get it now. So $10. This could be another weird goodbye. Off the back of this developer sale. Well, let's look at either Bard or Barrow Trauma. Barrow Trauma.
Ah.
They chose a very blocky looking zero that could have been a D. I'm thinking Bard Trauma, like
that would be
you went to
awesome.
Bard school and got like molested or something terrible, and it's just you going to a therapist about it and singing songs.
I mean, Jake, you fucking idiot! It's a submarine game.
It is a submarine game.
Couldn't you have guessed? Fucking stupid ass.
Yeah.
What is going on with the T then? Like, what is that supposed to be?
A hammerhead shark, you dum-dum.
Is it? Oh, it's. Oh,
It
okay.
looks like
There's
it's
sea
huge.
monsters.
Are there T-Rexes swimming underground?
It looks like an underwater T.
It
That would
looks
be
like a
amazing.
Fallout shelter map
Yeah.
or shelter, I guess.
But it's a
whatever, vault.
submarine
Yeah,
instead
but
of
it's
underground.
a submarine.
And you're
A
just
little bit of
shooting
Contra
machine
thrown in.
guns. What in the flying fuck?
And
Oh, now
Mondus
they're-
attack you.
This game's bananas.
There's Mondus in the shelter.
So it's Fallout Shelter plus Contra underwater.
Wow.
Got it.
I mean, that is actually the perfect description.
Mm-hmm.
How much do they want for this?
They want it's early access,
Fake
released
fish
this year.
underwater
Awesome.
games.
They want $20.
Yeah, no thanks.
Why don't you just buy the whole package with all these things we've never heard of for $39?
Publisher weekend bundle for $40. Yeah, honestly. I mean, if you're just looking for just a shotgun blast of weird games, you'll probably forget to play.
Sure, go ahead.
There you go. I also want
If you want the experience of dropping $30 out of your pocket, buy this.
This is it.
and then finding something else in your pocket that you weren't expecting and don't know what to do with. I want to. The Suicide of Rachel Foster here. Is it a menu simulator? Coming back to the family hotel
Probably.
after years, a strong-willed woman finds herself trapped with the ghosts from her past and an old cellular telephone.
Oh, jeez.
Spelled out in full because we're technicians here, as the only way to unveil a terrible truth.
It's also
$13.49.
Spoilers, she's been dead all along.
it's also
Yeah.
not coming out until February.
That is a cellular telephone for sure.
Jesus Christ.
Shit. What?
That is not a cell phone. It's not a cell. That is a cellular
Cellular.
telephone.
It's a big plastic.
You could rob a bank with that phone.
So it's the 90s,
It might be
it's
the
before
80s.
or might be 80s. Yeah.
This looks pretty fucking amazing.
Mug lunch.
Visually, this art is on point.
yeah,
Yeah.
some cool camera angles. Some cool. It's all cutscene so far. But
No
Jake,
action.
I think this is a menu simulator.
it very well could be.
Probably. It's
Or like a
still
point-
no
Does this
actual
remind me of
gameplay.
The
This looks like a
Shining?
movie trailer.
Or
Yeah.
like the Mist or Mist
Especially
rather.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Not the Mist.
Oh, there's a chapel in the hotel.
Oh, you know what? I'm kind of getting RE7 vibes too.
Resident Evil.
Dark
Silent
Tank.
Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially that map system.
They have mannequins. It's officially the scariest game ever made. Unexplained mannequins.
Dude, mannequins are scary.
They're so creepy.
They ain't right, dog.
Black umbrellas. Not,
All right.
Not to be
Okay,
confused
okay.
with
So is this
my
at
side
I mean,
your
this game is
suicide
making
funeral?
a compelling case with the trailer. I just have a feeling it's like one of those things that falls flat on its face when you actually play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely
Dude,
a
what is
demo
this-
trailer. Let's see. It came
The
out.
retainer
Oh,
butterfly.
it's not even out yet. What the fuck? So
yeah.
okay,
But you can buy it.
Pre-purchase it.
pre-purchase. Yeah,
Dude, I don't know. $14.
I'm not. Don't you dare say you're gonna pre-purchase.
You
No.
gotta see what the game is.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any idea.
Yeah, we have no idea what the game
Yeah.
is. We saw about 10 seconds of actual gameplay
If that.
in that
And then it was
2-minute
just
trailer.
like a tour of the whole
But
hotel.
cell
Yeah.
phone.
Cellular telephone.
Yeah, get it right, Bill. Jesus. Okay, so it could be interesting. Probably not. Although it does look good. I don't know. Any other ones here you care to
Let's
look
take
at?
Cryofall and Unrailed.
Okay.
Unrailed.
Cryofall.
Is that like unplowed?
Yes.
Okay.
Gotta unplow it.
Louder.
Cryofall is a sci-fi multiplayer survival game set on a forgotten planet in a distant future. Master technology, trading, crafting, industry, farming, exploration, and more. Very positive to mostly
An
positive.
electricity system. Okay, so this is sort of
Giving sort of a prison architect / RimWorld vibe.
got your Harvest Moon art style.
Yeah. Scorpions,
So, like-
Mondus,
Yeah.
This is like an isometric Terraria with your friends.
kinda. Yeah.
So it could be fun if you're into that.
Very, very RimWorld.
And it's early access
Yeah, early access.
for how
Came
much?
out in April this year. There's a playable demo. I haven't seen one of those in a while.
For 8 hours.
Buy Cryofall for $10. If that's your speed, there you go. There are mecha robots and big Mondus, so that's kind of fun. And let's see what Unrailed has to say. I don't care about
Unrailed.
broadcasting. Oh my God, Steam. Unrailed is a co-op multiplayer game where you have to work together with your friends to build a train track across endless procedurally generated worlds, master random encounters with its inhabitants, upgrade your train, and keep it from derailing. Okay, we got a Minecraft style in an isometric format.
This might be a
Railroads.
fun little party game.
But it's got trains.
It's got trains in it.
It's got choo-choo trains.
It's Minecraft Train Simulator. And the solution does not appear to be build more trains, thankfully.
Oh, thank God.
It's just build more railroad.
Now it is procedurally generated, and watching this gameplay footage, it's interesting because like they get up to very nearly the edge of their current slab of ground, and you can see the borders of the world all on the map right there. It's a very, very tiny play area, and as soon as they get close, I'm sure there's some type of trigger for it, but the next segment of Earth will just spawn in, and for some reason it's really appealing.
You can play against your friends. Oh, okay.
Each have
It's
your
like a
own
race.
train.
Yeah.
This looks like it could be a really fun drunk game.
You could definitely run train on somebody with this.
What's it priced at?
You did it. $10 early access.
1087.
Excuse
Oh
me.
my God.
Dying of fire.
You're
Yeah.
out of control today.
Yeah, I don't know. You guys want to look at it anymore?
No, let's go. Let's call it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Call it up.
So lots of interesting low price kind of contenders here. It's
Yeah.
it's an interesting dilemma that I'm in, but someone else go first.
I'm gonna get Shogun Super Blade Tactics,
Taxes.
and I want to get Bring Me the Moon Now.
Uber the moon.
Yeah.
Uber eats the moon.
I think the best choice by far is Plague, because it's a very enjoyable game. I've only ever played the mobile game, so I'm assuming you said that the PC version has way more features and whatnot.
It looks
No,
like
I
it.
think it's roughly the same. I think it just
Well-
looks. I think it's more like stepped up in the graphics department. I'm not 100% sure though.
I've played the mobile version, so maybe I would skip it then. But
I would pay $6 for the mobile version. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So for a
You paid
PC version that
$7.
looks better,
yeah.
you know, I would.
Yeah, if you
recommend
haven't played it, get that. Also, Nier Automata, again, I also have heard, Bill, many good things about that game, so that would be near the top of my list for sure.
I'd have to back you up on the Plague thing. Otherwise, I'd go with Miscreated. It looked like just enough to
Yeah, that
keep me
did
interested
look
for
pretty
$10 too. Like that's pretty decent for how beautiful it looked.
Yeah, yeah, and by the way, that offer's good for another week, December 16th, which is pretty cool. Bill,
All right,
you can-
deliver us the moon in the Japanese blade
right, you did say that. I
top
apologize.
down.
I forgot all about it. I'm really fucking torn, man. I kind of want to pick up Plague, but I have already played it on the phone. I really want to play Nier Automata, but I kind of want the price to come down more. Although,
Get the train game.
if you put a gun to my head, I would probably pick that one anyway.
Mhm.
But I think I'm going to Miscreated also.
Ooh,
Of
really?
a bunch. Yeah, if I'm picking one right now, it's the most different and seems to show the most promise out of the things I haven't already played for that price range.
All right,
There we
everybody.
go.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jake, for leading us through the Steam sale. Thank you, Frank, for being not dead. Thank you, Genevieve, for just being so wonderful all the time. And thank you, listener, for listening. Hey,
Thanks, Bill's dad.
thanks, Dad. Love you. Cock 'em, lock 'em, rock 'em, baby. Shh. Love, 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 love.
Oof.
This is a love gun.
Ow. The cringe hurts, man.
What?
God damn.
Dude.
Damn.
Now I'm feeling really self-conscious.
Good.
Good.
Someone unrail me.